Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's settle down. Just about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this launch of the budget process for the financial year 2026-27. My name is Albert Mwenda. I am the Director General for Budget, Fiscal and Economic Affairs. Before we begin, I would like us to start with a word of prayer, and I would like Mika Origa to come to the mic and lead us in that.
Let's humble ourselves and we pray. Father and God in heaven, we come to you this morning with our hearts full of gratitude and thanksgiving. We give thanks to you for keeping us since last year up to now. We don't take it for granted, Lord. As we start this function, we just want to invite your presence, that you cover us with the Holy Spirit from the start to the end. We want to pray, Lord, for the leadership of the country and the treasury at large, and just pray that as the technocrats work on these proposals to serve your citizenry, may you provide us with wisdom. As we start now, Lord, we invite your presence from the beginning to the end. In Jesus' name I pray.
Good morning once again. The Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Bandy, the Chairman, Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Samuel Atindi, the PS National Treasury, Dr. Chris Kipto, the PS Economic Planning, Dr. Boniface Makoha, the PS Public Investment and Asset Management, Mr. Cyril Waguda. The PS is present here, senior government officials, accounting officers, development partners, and the general public, media fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the launch of the budget process for the financial year 2026-27. And before we begin, could you help me by turning to the person on your left and your right and welcoming them and tell them thank you for making it to this launch of the budget process. Thank you very much. I see you are good students. You follow instructions. As we begin the budget process for the financial year 2026, I would also like to bring to your attention that we've had some changes in the leadership of the department that coordinates the national budget process. We have a new director of budget, and I would like to introduce her to you. For the avoidance of doubt, so that when you interact with her, you have, you know the person. Mrs. Eunice Keegan is our new Director of Budget at the National Treasury. And she's been deputizing the outgoing director, Francis Anyona, who has taken a rest. He has retired, and we wish him well in the next phase of life. Now, my role here is very simple. We have the culmination of this process is the launch of the budget process by the Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Badi. But before then, we would like to share some presentations that give information that will anchor the budget process for the financial year 26-27. And to start us off will be the PS for the national, for economic planning, Dr. Boniface Makoha, to present to us the highlights of the medium-term Plan 4 priorities. We have had to make some changes to the program to accommodate some timelines. And therefore, after the PS for economic planning, we will have Dr. Chris Kipto presenting, making his opening remarks and presenting on the macroeconomic outlook and the medium-term plan for that will anchor the budget for financial year 26-27. Thereafter, we will have a short presentation on the budget process, and then PS will invite the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and then finally invite the Cabinet Secretary to the National Treasury. I'm informed that we are live on Citizen TV, and we give thanks to our colleagues from the media. Without much ado, let me invite the PS Economic Planning, Dr. Boniface Makoha. Karibu. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you, DG. The CS, Honorable Mbadi, Chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee, Honorable Atandi, my colleague PSS, led by Dr. Kipto, PS National Treasury, my colleague PS Bwana Cyril, other colleagues, PSS, including Aden Miller, Karen Agengo, Moses, Aurelia, Stephen Saboke, Liban, other colleague PSS, the CEOs present, the DGs, honorable members of Parliament, both from the national and the county, senior government officials, media fraternity, and the entire public. Good morning. Good morning again. As you've heard, my name is Boniface Makoha, the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Economic Planning. I'm here to just bring to us key highlights of the fourth medium-term plan and I will take very few minutes because our time is limited, at maximum 15 minutes. The slides that I'll be rolling will be shared with us thereafter. So the outline of my presentation is as projected. I'll look at the background very quickly of our national philosophies that guide our development and economic planning that have guided since 1963. And then look at why better is a better plan. Look at the MTP4, which is better for inclusive growth. A quick highlight on the link between the plans and the budgets. And then bring to us very quickly the implementation, challenges and recommendations. And then finally with the priorities of 2025-2026 financial year. Let's move. Our national philosophy is, as you know, guided by different timings. I've highlighted the sessional paper 10, the strength and the weaknesses or shortfalls, the Harambe and then the Nyayo. We have the strength, like for Harambe, mobilized communities, the self-help spirit. What are the shortfalls? It created, to some extent, created disparities and allied capture. Let's move on. I've also highlighted several, but I'll pick one, like the Big Four agenda. The strength was it expanded infrastructure and promoted social cohesion. However, some of the shortfalls was over centralization. It was over-centralized. Let's move on. Immediately after that, we are talking of the better plan. Why is it better? It is better because, number one, it addresses the shortfalls that have been highlighted in the previous development philosophies, like it promotes inclusive development and equity in resource allocation. It ensured that state supported, but we have the community-driven projects. It also decentralized economic opportunities. Let's move on. The next slide. So better focuses on economic transformation through value chain. It also targets sectors with high impact to drive economic recovery, and it ensures rationalization of resources. Let's move on. So when we talk of better, MTP4, when we highlight, I'm bringing this background so that we see the link between better, and when we talk of better and MTP4, we're simply referring to one and the same thing. So it is better for inclusive growth, which is MTP4. Next slide. So the MTP4 is, why is it 4? Because it is a medium-term plan of the Vision 2030 that started all the way from 2008 when we had the Vision 2030. We have MTP4 2008 to 2012, MTP1, 2013 to 2017, MTP2, 2018, 2022, MTP3, and now we are talking of MTP4, 2023 to 2027. MTP4, it is themed bottom-up economic transformation agenda for inclusive growth. We implement the better priorities through this MTP4, and it has several priority programs. Next slide. When you look at that slide, it is showing how the MTP4 is linked to the better core pillars and the objectives of better. We have 5 sectors of MTP4, that is finance and production, infrastructure, social, environment and natural resource, governance, and public administration. So that the wheels indicate how beta is linked to MTP4. Next slide. We are implementing the MTP4 or beta MTP4 priorities through a value chain approach. And the value chain approach simply describes the production to market linkage, generating value for the consumer while increasing revenue generated by producer. That is production, value chain, and then we move to market. Next slide. Some of the value chains that are identified in MTP4 beta are listed there, starting with the leather and leather products. You move to textile, dairy, you go to tea, rice. You have on the next column is maize, potatoes. Those are the value chains that are listed in the MTP4. Next slide. What are the key highlights of MTP4? One, we look at the macroeconomic indicators, annual GDP growth. As a department, we look at what was planned and what was achieved. We are giving a comparative analysis of financial years 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, and then now moving to the projection. So if you move along that, you'll see the annual GDP growth, which 2023, 2024 was planned and projected at 5.9, achieved was 5.3. If you move across the row, you'll see 2024, 2025, 6.3, and we have 4.7. The same applies. Thank you. The same applies if you move down, you'll see the foreign exchange reserve, what was planned and what was achieved for each of the financial year, even the physical deficit, again as a percentage of GDP. You'll see that there is an improvement from negative 5.3. We are moving to last financial year to negative 4. This highlights the performance of the macro indicators. Let's move to the next slide. What are the sector contribution to GDP? If you look at the 5 sectors that we're looking at, the finance and production, 2021 it was 40.6. You move across the row, 40.6 for 2022, 41 2023, and 41.5 2024. There is an increment in terms of that sector contribution, and that slide highlights all sectors and how much they are contributing to the GDP per a financial year that we've been looking at for the last few years. Next slide. If you look at finance and production sector, we compare the targets and the achievements. And how we compare, we look at what was planned in the MTP4, what were the indicators, and we picked very key indicators. We have so many indicators in our indicator book, but we picked key indicators like on quantity of maize, produced annually. We're looking at the 90 kg bags in terms of millions. What was planned? What was planned in 2023, 2024 was 36 million bags, but we surpassed that. We achieved 47.6 million bags. When you move across that, you realize the achievements that have been made. You can also look at volume of milk processed, what we planned vis-a-vis what was achieved, 754 million liters. That financial year, we achieved 8 or 6 million liters. Next slide. The next slide still also compares the infrastructure sector, the target versus the achievement. The kilometers of roads constructed what was planned and what was achieved for the 3 financial year and giving a projection for what we expect. Next slide. The social sector also does the same. We're looking at several indicators, and on your left-hand side, we have the MDAs that are mapped to those key indicators that we're looking at, and the performance that we had for both 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, and the financial year that we are at and whatever we are planning for. Next slide. The same, move to the next slide. That is the last sector, governance and public, back. Yeah, governance and public administration, targets and achievement. So if you look at all this, you'll see that whatever we planned and what we achieved comparatively, there is a positive improvement in most of these key sectors, key programs that were planned to be implemented. Next slide. What is the link between plans and budget? Link between plans and budget is that as a State Department we guide the planning, the long term, the medium term. We also help in ministerial strategic plans, in performance contracts. And all these inform the budget. So therefore, whatever the plans are able to come up with, this is what will also inform the budget that is required. Next slide. What are the challenges when implementing this MTP4, and what are the recommendations? I'll just mention 2. The slow adoption of the value chain approach. What is the recommendation for that challenge? We need to deepen sensitization and capacity building on value chains. We need to prioritize and increase budget to value chain programs. Another challenge that we identified there is inadequate human resource capacity. We also need, recommendation is to enhance staff capacity in terms of skill, enhancement, and adequate staff numbers. Next slide. What are the priorities for this, the financial year 2026, 2027? Yeah, 2026, 2027. The priorities, number 1 is the fiscal year 2026, 2027. The medium-term budget will be aligned to MTP4, has to be aligned to MTP4, which is better, emphasizing the priorities of the better sector, which are 5, increasing agricultural production, transforming the MSME economy, providing affordable housing to populace, offering universal health coverage, increasing investment in digital superhighway, and creative economy. Next slide. Apart from contributing to better and MTP4 priorities, prioritization and allocation of budgetary resources will also be guided, 1, by completion of ongoing stalled projects, job creation, poverty reduction, and the core mandates of MDAs. Will also be guided by human capital, climate change mitigation and adaptation, cost-effective and efficient and sustainability, and constitutional and presidential as well as cabinet directives. Next slide. The last slide just shows that we have publications that you can access and get familiar or get to know what the State Department is doing. Last slide. That is the end, and I want to thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, PS. Another round of appreciation. So now we will have a presentation, the opening remarks by the PS and presentation on the macroeconomic outlook for the 26-25 budget. Welcome, PS. Please help me welcome the PS National Treasury.
Thank you, Albert. Cabinet Secretary, Honorable John Badi, Honorable Atandi, who is the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, my colleague PSS, and all the participants this morning. Good morning. I'm Jambo. My remarks will be by way of a presentation, and I intend to use 20 minutes to do this presentation. So, may I say all protocol observed. Let's go to the first slide, which is the outline of my presentation. That is, I have 7 items to cover. And let's now go to the next slide. As usual, we like to contextualize our budget making process within the global developments. So in this slide, we are indicating that global economy has averaged about 3.5% in the last 3 years, from 2022 to 2024. And this, you are looking at the period after the COVID-19 recession, but we have seen uneven recovery because of, for instance, the Russia-Ukraine war that ended up causing increase in commodity prices. We also have issues in the Middle East and other geopolitical risks. So that slide is really showing the advanced economies is the one on blue, and then we have sub-Saharan Africa and emerging markets. You can see more of this in the next slide. So you can see that average growth in 2023 for the world economy was 3.5, 24 it came to 3.3, 2025 3%, and we are projecting an increase, slight recovery in 2026. You can see also the rest for the advanced economies led by US, Euro area, and Japan. And then we have indicated in the emerging markets, China and India. Then for sub-Saharan Africa, you can see also a growth rate of around 4%. We have also highlighted Kenya and Nigeria as examples. Because this slide will be available to you, I really want to move to the next slide. And this is about Kenya. And the story here is that if you look at that cycle there that shows Kenya, that indicates that Kenya's highly diverse economy with a growth of 4.7% in 2024. You can see that we have a very diversified economy. There is no sector that really is dominant over the other. Of course, agriculture remains the leading economy, the leading sector with 22.5%. But you can see transport and storage takes a share of 12.7%. Real estate is 8.4%. Financial and insurance sector is 7.9%. Wholesale and retail trade, 7.5%. You can see manufacturing is 7.3%. We need to see this double. Our aspiration is to really have more manufacturing, share of manufacturing in our GDP. The rest you can see. So we have a diversified economy. That is why when we have shocks, we always recover quickly because of that diversified nature of our economy. You can see in the lower part that real GDP has been growing from 2018, it was 5.6, it came down to 5.1, then we had the COVID period, then a recovery in 2021, of course, because of the base effect, but then 2022, 4.9, then 5.7, but last year it came down, and I think you all remember we had a challenge around June because of the budget, and we had riots in the country, which led to slowdown in economic activities. But we have picked up, and that is why on the slide that you see there on the right side, we are indicating that economic growth was 4.9 in the first quarter of 2025. And you can see that all the sectors grew. All the sectors grew, with the fastest sector being agriculture at 6%. And again, because of time, let's go to the next slide. have gone to another presentation. That's not my presentation. Yes, that one. Okay. So next slide. So this is the macroeconomic indicator on inflation. We have done very well on containing inflation. You can see here that the latest number is 4.1% in July. And you recall we had brought inflation down to up to 2.7%, from as high as 9.6% in October 2022. So generally, because this has been achieved mainly because of monetary policy tightening, and in fact, in the last few months, we have seen central bank ease monetary policy, and the CBR rate has actually been reduced from 13% to now about 9.5%. Next slide. I have to rush because of time. We have shown you some some items which I think PS Planning had also tried to bring out. We are saying here that in November, for instance, 2023, a kilogram of sugar was costing 218 shillings. And that in July this year, 2025, it was costing 187 shillings. So we have seen a reduction of about 33% in the cost of 1 kilogram of sugar. The same thing for hunger, grain and flour. We have seen about 20% decline. Same thing for electricity. You can see decline of around 17%. And even 1 liter of petrol is now 15% down from what it was there. In 1 liter of diesel is also 18.5% down in terms of cost. So cost of living has largely been addressed. I think this was one of the major objectives that this government had set up when it came to power. So let's go to the next slide. These are interest rates. Because of bringing down of inflation, we have also seen interest rates come down. And the interbank rate has now come to 9.6%, when compared to a year ago, which was 13.2%. And for treasury bill rates, we have seen this halved. We had 16% in July 2024. This year, in July, we have had 8.1. In fact, last Thursday, the 91 treasury bill rate was 8%. And this week, we expect that it's going to be below 8. And we are determined to work with central bank to make sure that we have a low regime of interest rates in Kenya. So as a result of this decline in interest rates, lending rates have picked up to 17.2%. Of course, let's go to the next slide. I think that will give us better story. You can see that from July 2020, from 2024 February, credit to private sector had come down, and it came down because monetary policy was tightened and interest rates were going up. But as soon as central bank started easing monetary policy, you can see that credit has recovered. Credit to private sector has recovered, and you can see from a decline of 2.9 to now 3.3. And we expect that more credit to private sector will be realized with continued easing of monetary policy by the central bank. Next slide. On the external sector, I have 10 minutes. On the external sector, the current account has remained stable at 1.5% of GDP. And what has made it easy for us to achieve this good performance in the current account? First, our exports have done well. The exports of goods have done well. They have grown by 7.7%. Exports of services have also gone up, especially for tourism and for transport and travel. For our goods, you have seen coffee, horticulture, and even tea prices, they have really gone up. And then remittances have increased. Our people in diaspora have done us great, because now we are receiving about 5.084 trillion. It's actually about $5.1 billion in the last 12 months. And then we have seen goods imports have risen by about 9.9%. But overall, the current account is still stable. And the official reserves over this period have grown. And now, as we speak, we are talking about $11.9 billion of foreign exchange in our central bank. And this has raised the months of import cover to 5.2 from 3.8 months of import cover in the same period just 1 year ago. Next slide. The shilling. Our shilling has remained very stable. You can see from February 2024, we had a lot of pressure on the shilling, and it was going to 160, over 165. There were even predictions that it would go to 250. And all that was because of the fear that we would not be able to settle the maturing 2 billion euro bond that was due in June last year. But we took a decisive action by going to the market with an issuance and a buyback of 1.5 billion of that 2 billion. And that really de-risked the market, because you can see from then on, exchange rate has appreciated, and we have maintained it at around 129 to 130 for now almost 2 years. I think this has really brought in stability. And next slide. So the final part of this, before I go to the last, the part of presentation, which is for budget, is that even in our capital markets, we have seen very good progress. You can see that because of the economic recovery, because of stability in the exchange rate, and general macroeconomic stability, we have seen FDI, foreign direct investments, increase, and we have seen investors attracted to our Nairobi Stock Exchange. So you can see the index of the NSE has improved by over 50%. You can see the indicators there, 53% increase from 2,559 points in July 2025 from 1,670 points in July 2024. And market capitalization has also gone up by an equivalent 53% from 2.5 trillion, that is, no, from 1.65 trillion in July last year to 2.5 trillion in July this year. I now move to the part on budget performance, which is relevant to today's meeting. And I would like to say that we had total revenue collection by end of June 2025 that amounted to 2.93 trillion against a target of 2.985. So we had a shortfall of about 62 billion. And this is overall revenue. But when we look at ordinary revenue, we had a shortfall of 76. And total revenues grew by 8% compared to a growth of 14.5% in the previous year. While ministerial A&A actually did well and went up by 14 billion. So fiscal deficit as percent of GDP was 5.8%. This was slightly higher than what we targeted, if you recall, because of the challenges that we faced. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the table that shows performance of revenues. In the fiscal year 23-24, you can see total revenue grew by 14.5%. In this year, it grew by 8%. And you can see the various categories of ordinary revenue: import duty, excise duty, income tax, VAT, and others. The story here is that we underperformed mainly because of, especially in all major tax heads, except for import duty and VAT. So, and I think you go to the next slide, we go to expenditure. This is how expenditure performed. You can see our target was, by the way, I need to say we had to do 3 supplementary estimates in this year that has just ended. We did the first one as soon as Parliament passed the finance bill, but which we had to bring back the budget to Parliament because the President decided not to assent to the then finance bill, given the reactions that Kenyans had given. So we did another supplementary later, and the third one which you see here. So the target for supplementary three was 4 trillion, but our preliminary expenditure shows a decline, a deviation of 75 billion. And you can see those categories. Domestic interest rate is higher than our target, and foreign interest rate is low because this time round we didn't receive as much from the foreign foreign funding. And pension and CFS also, you can see there, our estimates were lower by about 14 billion. Let's go to, I think I need to say one thing here. This, unlike the previous years, we did very well this time round because we managed to pay all exchequer requests which were before us. We did not have carryover effects from the previous year. So as we cross to this fiscal year of 25-26, we have paid all counties their dues, including the arrears of 1 month that we had. We also did the same for CDF. We have paid all ministries, all departments, and I think if we maintain this, then we will be addressing the issue of pending bills, because at least this time around we don't have pending bills that we have carried over because we managed to settle all the requests. Now, next slide. So, what remains the fiscal risks? As we move forward, we still have a challenge. We have emergency interventions that came, like drought and floods. Sometimes we have, of course, collective bargaining agreements that were not factored, so sometimes there are shortfalls, given that we may have made recruitments and we have had to adjust salaries to make sure that we address those recruitments and in cases of CBS that have been agreed. Sometimes we have increased insecurity that leads to higher budgets, and many others, including the cash transfer program now that has become expensive because of a larger population of Kenyans that deserve to be treated under this cash transfer program. Next slide. I really don't want to deal with so many of those. You can read and you can address them, you can look at them later. Next slide. So this is the summary of the fiscal performance in 24-25 and the budget for 25-26. You can see our budget for 24-25 was 3.3 trillion. But by the time we did a supplementary 3, we had scaled it down to 2.95. We had to do this because of the fact that the economy was not doing well, and we wanted also to be more realistic, because sometimes we think we have been too ambitious when it comes to projections. So with this time we said we need to stick to a lower number. And you can see the outcome was a deviation of only about 76 billion. So this year, we are 25-26, we are targeting 3.3 trillion, which is the same target that we had for last year. But so this is also a more realistic target. The same thing for expenditures. You can see we are now targeting 4.3 trillion for fiscal year 25-26. And we are hoping to settle at a 4.7% GDP in terms of fiscal deficit. Next slide. So, what are the macroeconomic assumptions that underlie the fiscal framework going forward? We are expecting that our GDP will grow by at least 5.3% over the medium term. And we expect agriculture to continue driving the economy, and also the services sector and the other sectors that you saw in the earlier presentation. We also expect to continue enjoying favorable weather that will drive agricultural productivity. We expect to maintain inflation low and stable within the target of central bank. Interest rates are also projected to remain low. We expect our shilling to remain stable, and we expect revenues to grow from about 17.7% to 18.1%. Of course, that 18 is much lower than what we have projected in the medium-term revenue strategy. And then expenditures are projected to decline from to around 21.5%. over the medium term. Let's go to the slides now that I want, as I finish. CS, we have, go back. I want Kenyans to take note of that. Shrinking fiscal space. This is the reality that we have now. Let's show in the next slide. You can see that the green is showing that revenues have been growing, and one can say impressively. You can see from 2010 to 2011, our revenues were 6 or 9 billion. Today we are talking about 2.4 trillion. But the red one, that red is showing the growth rates. And you can see that the growth rates have been declining. Every annual growth rates have been declining in terms of revenues. So as we move forward, we are not generating enough revenues as we should. Yet we have a different story when it comes to expenditure. Expenditure pressure is high. So if we cannot manage, the revenues are coming not as much as we want, the revenues are going up, it means we will have to finance the budget through deficit. And I will be showing you that deficits are things we cannot expect going forward because the debt levels have gone too high. Next slide. So this is what I was saying, that ordinary revenues have declined. You can see from 2023, we had around 18% of GDP. And as we speak, the latest is around 14%. So there's one thing I want to say here, that they have the tax compliance gaps have continued to increase. We have increased tax expenditure. Now about 500 billion is being used as tax incentives. Then we have also growth in sectors like agriculture, where we are not driving much of the taxes from those sectors which are growing. But one thing I want you to take notice is that CFS, this is interest rates and pension, is taking up now 48.5% of ordinary revenue. So of revenues that we collect, almost half of it is going to just pay loans and other obligations. And you can see this was 16% in 2023. So over 10 years, it has gone up to almost 50%. You can project, if we continue like this, the next 10 years, it means we'll literally be collecting to pay our obligations, and that's not the best thing. Over the same time, you can see that GOK-funded development projects have declined. Now, instead of the 21% we used to enjoy, we are now only 9.2% of our budget is going for development. And that is not what we want, because the people are growing up and their development needs are increasing. So next slide. This is expenditure trend. You can see that red slide is showing recurring. Recurring is taking a large share. But overall, the good story is that as percent of GDP, expenditure is generally declining, and this is what we would like to see. Next slide. So we really ask for fiscal reforms, and we are going to be focusing on this. I believe CS will emphasize that. Let's go to those slides. We want to reverse this trend of reduction in revenue to GDP. So you see on this side, the right side, we want to reverse this trend by moving revenue as percentage of GDP to 18% and even to 20% as indicated in our medium-term revenue strategy. Next slide. So how do we want to do it? We will implement our tax policy that is in place, and also tax administration measures as indicated in the medium-term revenue strategy. And on tax administration, we want to really look at efficient collection of revenue and also seal leakages. And here, KRA has really moved to do automation and digitization to enhance tax compliance and expand the tax base. We are going to work hard also to minimize tax expenditure. And we want to focus also raising more tax revenue. Next slide. On expenditure, we really want to focus a lot on rationalizing and reducing non-essential expenditures, prioritizing ongoing reforms. I know my time is up, and I need to give the chance to the other speakers. We have end-user e-procurement, and I think CS will speak to this. E-procurement is what we are relying on to really contain our expenditure. we have a unified payroll system. Now we want to unify what we call human resource information system with IFMIS, and to make sure that there are statutory deductions so that as we pay salaries, simultaneously KRA gets their payee, SHA gets the SHA, and NSSF and all that are recipients of statutory deductions get on time. Next slide. So public finance management reforms. We have moved now to accrual basis, accrual accounting basis from cash basis from this financial year onwards. We have continued to implement zero-based budgets. We have also gone to single treasury account so that we improve our cash management, and we have optimized our asset utilization through a module called assets and inventory management, so that all ministries will have in IFMIS their assets and other inventories. Then the last thing is that we are doing SOE reforms, where we have mergers, we have dissolutions and restructuring and declassifications. A lot of this will be achieved after the passage of the SOE bill that is in Parliament, and also the privatization bill that is in Parliament. Next slide. So I want to finish by indicating this. You can see that we have, for a while, run widening budget deficit. I think the highest was 8.3. That red line that you see, 8.3% there. I want you to pay attention to the green line, what we call primary balance. We had achieved up to around 0.1% of primary balance. So I think, next slide. This is the last slide, CS, as I invite you. This is the budget, public debt. Public debt, you can see as percent of GDP, the present value of debt had risen up to 65%, but now has come down to about 64%. Because of time, let me stop here and invite Honorable Honorable Atandi, sorry, so that he make your remarks, and then we invite the CS. Just because of time, I know there's a live coverage, and we need to make sure the CS has time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the CS, the PS, Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, John Badi, Principal Secretary for National Treasury, Dr. Chris Kipto, and all the other PSs who are present here, members of Parliament, government officials, and all the invited guests. Good morning. I want to be very brief, and thank you very much, Bonas PS, for your presentation. I think you've taken care of most of the items I wanted to talk about. But let me begin by saying that it is an honor for me to address you this morning for the launch of the sector working groups for the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium-term budget preparation process. This occasion marks a pivotal moment in our collective effort to craft a budget that drives Kenya's development agenda while also addressing domestic and global economic realities. The budget preparation process is a cornerstone of our governance enshrined in the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and also guided by Chapter 12 of the Constitution, Sections 35 and 36 of the Act. We undertake this process with a commitment to transparency, accountability, and robust public participation. The sector working groups launched today are tasked with aligning our fiscal priorities with the aspirations of Kenyans, ensuring that resources are allocated efficiently to deliver transformative impact. Our expectations as Parliament is that for the financial year 2026-2027, the budget will support bottom-up economic transformation agenda through targeted development expenditure in critical sectors such as agriculture, health, education, and infrastructure. These investments are essential to empower households, create jobs, and foster inclusive growth of our people. However, like has been acknowledged by the PS, we must acknowledge that there's a concerning trend where actual development expenditure has declined significantly from over 640 billion in 2020 financial year to approximately 500 billion by the end of financial year 2024-25. This decline has aggravated by in-year revisions due to low absorption of development partner projects, slow exchequer releases, and other project implementation challenges. I urge National Treasury and the sector working groups to be cognizant of these issues when setting up development priorities by addressing bottlenecks in projects execution and improving coordination with development partners. We can ensure that allocated funds are fully utilized to maximize impact on priority projects aligned, and also align them with fourth medium-term plan for Vision 2030. Honorable Minister, this is a concerning trend, and I think it has also been highlighted by the PS. I want to say that one of the areas that is going to affect budget implementation for this financial year is now what we call e-procurement. I know e-procurement is important, necessary, and it is promising to also help us, manage our budget process better. But from the information we have received from the departments and ministries, the slow, uptake of this e-procurement is going to affect development, rolling out of development projects. And I want to urge National Treasury to ensure that this process is fast-tracked and the bottlenecks that are currently prevailing are managed properly. We also face significant pressure from interest payments on public debt, and I also just want to urge that this financial year we are going to pay up about 1 trillion in interest in debt. And the sector working groups must balance the need to meet these debt obligations with sparing resources for critical development. As you plan your budgets, please note that the physical space is shrinking, as has been explained, and it is not a secret that this is a reality which you must be able to must be aware of it. National Treasury, in collaboration with Parliament, must consider innovative financial mechanisms such as public-private partnerships in sectors including energy, transport, irrigation, and housing, so that we avoid over-reliance on exchequer for development projects. To ensure fiscal stability, Parliament has given priority to realistic revenue projections, and we are targeting 2.7 trillion in this financial year in ordinary revenue. These achievable targets will reduce uncertainties in budget implementation and minimize unplanned borrowing. The sector working groups should ensure that the leverage on advanced tools such as upgraded IFMIS system, budget costing tool to align expenditure plans with those projections, ensuring that efficiency and reducing reliance on supplementary estimates. Bonasias, we are not very happy with so many supplementary estimates. We think that many supplementary estimates are affecting the rollout of development programs. We want to urge National Treasury and the sector working groups to ensure that this financial year we avoid those supplementary estimates so that the budget is implemented as passed. In the previous years, National Treasury indicated plans to implement zero-based budgeting. However, for the year 2025-2026, Parliament has not observed evidence of this application in submitted estimates. Additionally, several other measures and reforms aimed at controlling expenditures over the medium term, boosting efficiency, transparency, and accountability are yet to be fully implemented. These include migrating to a Treasury single account to consolidate public funds, transitioning to accrual accounting for enhanced financial reporting, and deploying public investment information system. Even though the PS has made a wonderful presentation on application of these reforms, as Parliament, we think that these reforms have not been activated sufficiently, and we are looking at this financial year to see that these reforms are actually, working. I want to urge the sector working groups to fully embrace zero-based budgeting for the financial year 2026-2027, ensuring that its application is evident in the budget estimates tabled by April 30th, 2026. This approach will ensure that every expenditure is justified, inefficiencies are eliminated, and resources are allocated to high-priority programs. Parliament, through a resolution of Budget and Appropriations Committee, has directed the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee to unbundle all devolved functions still being implemented by the national government. This directive aims to curb unnecessary duplication of functions between the national and county governments, particularly in the health, agriculture, water, and other sectors. Honorable CS, we have been undergoing painful mediation exercise between the National Assembly and the Senate over Division of Revenue Bill. And Honorable CS, we know that there's no really big room for us to continue to transfer more resources to the counties. So the only option left for us is to ensure that all those functions that are currently being handled by national government and should be devolved, they need to be done quickly so that we avoid this painful fighting over transfer of more resources. We expect Division of Revenue Bill 2026 to incorporate provisions to guarantee that counties are allocated devolved resources that are presently held by the national government in a manner that is appropriate. I urge the National Treasury and sector working groups to ensure that national government resources are prudently allocated, avoiding overlaps with county functions. This alignment will ensure that service delivery, optimize resource use, and strengthen our devolved system of governance as envisioned in the Constitution. Addressing pending bills, Honorable CS, remains a critical focus as these have constrained liquidity for businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises. The pending bill verification committee is auditing bills accumulated from the 2005 to 2022, and clearing this will inject liquidity into the SME sector, which supports over 60,000 enterprises and millions of jobs. The sector working groups must give priority and allocate resources to expedite this process, fostering economic growth and building trust in our public finance system. Honorable CS, public participation is the heartbeat of our budget process. I call upon the sector working groups to engage actively with citizens, civil society, and the private sector during the upcoming public sector hearings. These platforms will ensure that the budget for financial year 2026-2027 reflects the priorities of all Kenyans. The adoption of zero-based budgeting this year further underscores our commitment to scrutinizing our expenditure, eliminating inefficiencies, and maximizing value for money. Honorable CS, you remember that for the last 2 financial years, there has been conflict between Parliament and the budget as tabled by National Treasury. I tend to think that if we enhance public participation better, then going forward we are not going to see conflict where the budget presented in the National Assembly is altered, or changed by members of Parliament. I think this is something that we are committed to ensuring that we have a budget that is properly aligned and that there's no conflict during the budget making process. Thank you. I have 1 minute. In closing, I would like to give gratitude to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Principal Secretaries, and all stakeholders for their support in this process, and to ensure that we craft a budget that reflects our vision for a stronger, more inclusive country. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to the chairman of the Budget Committee. It's now my pleasure and honor to invite our team leader at the National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Badi Ngongo. Can we all be upstanding for him, please? Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you. We can have our seats. I hope the standing was to break the monotony, but not for me. Thank you, PS. I think a lot has been said, so I'll in a few minutes give my official speech, and then if you allow me, then I will give what may sound as off-the-cuff remarks, but generally to give a summary of the performance of our economy and generally where we need to go to, or what we are trying to do to make sure that our economy is sound. So the principal secretary is present here today, including my 3 principal secretaries, Chris Kipto, Boniface Makoha, and of course Odede. the other principal secretaries present and other counting officers, Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. I don't see representation from Council of Governors. I don't know whether there is any in the room. Commission on Revenue Allocation was also supposed to be represented. I am not sure whether there is representation from that commission. I know there are development partners. I salute you. The private sector representatives, the civil society representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's with great honor that I stand before you today to officially launch the sector working groups, which is a pivotal step in our national budget and planning process for the fiscal year 2026-2027 and the medium term. This initiative is integral to our broader strategic framework, which is aimed at ensuring economic sustainability of economic growth, social development, and effective public service delivery. I recently issued guidelines on the preparation of the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium-term budget in accordance with Article 220 of our Constitution and Section 35E and Section 36 of the Public Finance Management Act. It is further to these guidelines that we are here today to launch the 2026-27 and medium-term budget preparation process. So, ladies and gentlemen, the financial year 2026-27 and medium-term budget, which we are launching today, is being prepared within the context of a global economy that is facing significant challenges due to the following factors. One, rising trade barriers across the globe, financial tightening, and policy uncertainties which threaten growth prospects. Further, we are also faced with persistent risks which include trade policy escalations, cautious consumer and business behavior, intensification of geopolitical tensions, and sustained high inflation, potentially exceeding expectations. However, reversing trade restrictions early could stimulate growth and mitigate inflationary pressures. I am mentioning this because you have seen the unpredictability of the issues of tariffs between the two leading economies, which basically dictates where our economic growth would go. So on the global scene, as my peers has mentioned, the growth is expected to moderate at 3% in 2025 from 3.3% before slightly improving to 3.1% in 2026. In sub-Saharan Africa, again, that has been spoken to by my peers. I don't want to repeat. However, the growth outlook is supported by factors such as increased private consumption, ongoing public investment in infrastructure, and a gradual revival of the services sector, particularly tourism, in our economy. However, several risks could impede this growth trajectory, which include spillovers from global trade disruptions, declining external demand, volatility in commodity prices driven by geopolitical tensions, and limited fiscal capacity in many countries, which may lead to tighter financing conditions. Our economy is expected to recover in 2025. I think my peers spoke to last year's economic growth, which was lower at 4.7%. In the first quarter of this year, we have seen a rebound at 4.9%. We expect better performance later, although we had a challenge with the demonstrations and riots that took place end of June and beginning of July. But we expect a better performance in the last quarters of the year. And so our focus is to have a 5.3% economic growth, which is supported by agricultural, strong agricultural and manufacturing sector. Our manufacturing sector has shown very clear signs of recovery, together even with mining sector, which underperformed last year, mining and minerals. So we are also expecting a robust service industry, macroeconomic stability, ongoing public investment, and high business confidence. And the public investment is mostly in the construction sector and the road sector as well. However, Kenya's economic outlook still faces both external and domestic risks. Further, extreme weather may negatively impact agriculture, infrastructure, and food security. So the government is monitoring these risks closely and will therefore take necessary measures to safeguard macroeconomic stability. Our recent fiscal experiences have been instructive. One, the withdrawal of the 2024 finance bill last year compelled us to forego additional revenue measures, prompting implementation of austerity measures that prioritize essential social sectors such as education, health, and social protection. In fact, last year was the most, I think, challenging year in the recent past, apart from the COVID years. Why? Because apart from losing revenue-raising measures which the government had factored in their plan, there were a lot of expenditure pressures that came from the health sector, where we adopted a new system of funding our healthcare program from October last year. And again, we also had a lot of challenges in the education sector. The collective bargaining agreements were, their implementation phase just began last year. So there were issues with COPET, NAT. We also had issues with the lecturer strikes. There were a lot of challenges, but I'm happy that we were able to surmount those challenges. So these measures, though challenging, reinforce the importance of financial judiciousness and resource economization in our governance framework. I therefore direct all MDS to ensure that the fiscal prudence and resource optimization we instituted are sustained and embedded in our culture of public service. So in the upcoming budget, will be anchored on in the fourth medium-term plan and aligned with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The strategic focus remains on fostering economic growth through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, emphasizing on inclusive development. So in this regard, our focus will still remain the 5 pillars: agricultural transformation, MSMEs, housing and settlement, healthcare, and digital infrastructure, which includes creative economy investments. For our fiscal framework, we are structuring our fiscal framework around key targets, which include GDP of 5.3%, inflation maintained at the midpoint with plus or minus 2.5%. We are also anchoring our framework on the projection that we will realize 17.2% of GDP in terms of revenue collection. The other projection is that we will be able to maintain our expenditure below 22.2%, down from 22.7%. The other assumption is that our fiscal deficit will be reduced. Remember, in 2023-24, the fiscal deficit was 4.7. But then in 2024-25, the year that ended, that rose to 5.8. It may be looked at as a negative, but I will tell you that if you consider other factors, we are 4.7%, but with a carryover of 218 billion, which is about 1.3% of GDP. If you add, that is the carryover of what we were supposed to have supported or released Exchequer to, which includes county governments, 31 billion, 26 billion that was supposed to go to pensions, and there was also CDF 13 billion, and MDAs unfunded Exchequer requests of over 158 billion. If you add all that, that was 1.3% of GDP. If you added that to 4.7, you are at 6% of GDP. So in real terms, 2023-24, we should have closed by a budget deficit of 6% of GDP. I am happy to announce that the 2024-25, we closed the year with no carryovers. That the counties, we released all the Exchequer requests to counties, including the arrears for 23-24. That we also released the Exchequer requests for CDF, including the carryover of 13 billion. And we managed to settle all the pension requests that were processed. And we transferred exchequer requests to MDS almost in total. So then it means that our performance in 2024-25, in my view, in terms of budget deficit, it was better than 2023-24. So in recent financial planning reforms, innovative budgeting approaches have been adopted by the government to enhance fiscal management and strategic allocation of resources. One of these is the zero-based budgeting, which this financial year, we should not have any excuse why we cannot adopt zero-based budgeting. We piloted it in the last financial year. Now this financial year, the 2026-27, we must now actualize full implementation of zero-based budgeting. 2025-26, there were excuses. Now 26-27, there will be no excuses. So MDS should note that each of the program will compete for funding on an equal basis, forcing elimination of inefficiencies, duplications, and misallocation of resources. So this time there will be competition for resources. You must justify the resources that you are requesting from your sector working groups. In recognition that many challenges transcend sector boundaries, we will promote intersectoral collaboration to develop integrated solutions. We cannot afford to have different arms of government working in silos on the same problem. MDS are therefore required to identify and eliminate overlapping functions and propose joint programs that deliver greater impact at a lower cost. So we are not going to entertain any more overlapping functions between or among MDS. You must identify them and eliminate them for seamless and smooth implementation of our program. We are running one government, we are not running many governments. So we must avoid working in silos. Something that I need to emphasize on is public participation. It remains a cornerstone of our fiscal policy. We are committed to fostering a participatory approach, engaging stakeholders at all levels, and ensuring their inputs influence budget decisions. Treasury has already been leading from the front, and we are even going to do better in 2026-27 in terms of engaging Kenyans in budget process and budget implementation. And therefore, MDAs, you have a responsibility to engage Kenyans. We must avoid the culture of thinking that we know what is good for Kenyans. We must allow Kenyans to participate in the budget-making process to decide where their resources should be allocated to. And so, all your requests will be subjected to that test, public participation. If you are not conducting public participation, I'm sorry, you may not get the resources that you are requesting from the National Treasury. It is essential to proactively identify and involve all key stakeholders, document their contributions, and clearly illustrate how their feedback has influenced the fiscal budget proposal. So all the proposals that you'll be making, you have a responsibility to demonstrate how the feedback that you've got from Kenyans is influencing that budget proposal. This approach will ensure transparency. It will also enforce inclusivity and accountability, thereby strengthening the integrity of the decision-making process and fostering trust among all parties involved. I strongly encourage all accounting officers and sector working groups to view this process not merely as a procedural requirement, but as a fundamental aspect of sound governance. So before I conclude, I wanted to mention a few things. Then I will come back to make my conclusion. Listening to the PS, Chris Kipto, and PS Makoha, you will realize that we still have a long way to go to realize economic stability in this country. But I must also say that we have made some very good progress, that if we work together as a country, then we will realize economic stability in this country in the shortest time that we never imagined. We only need first to love our country and believe in our country. Sometimes when I listen to people make their contributions, I listen a lot also to TV talk shows. I also read newspaper and I see people's opinions. And I respect their opinions. But I think we also need to acknowledge and accept that a lot has happened even in the past 1 year. Let me just mention a few things. You'll remember that in 2022, we had inflation rate at an unimaginable percentages, 9.6%. Yesterday, I saw someone write that inflation has gone down because we rebased our economy. I remember when we rebased our economy last, was several years back. And we haven't rebased our economy since that time. So these are likes for likes. So 9.6 has come down to 4.1. To me, clearly, that also reflects a reduction in cost of living. Because Chris gave you figures and analysis, and we have them. The cost of the basic commodities in 2023 and 2025. But even if you go back to 2022, it was even worse. So coming from 2022, end of 2022 to 2023, most of the basic commodities coming to 2025 their prices have gone down. From the basic, which is the maize flour, fuel, sugar, we have the data. Cost of living is not determined in political rallies. Cost of living will not be determined in churches. Cost of living is determined by real data collected, collated, and disseminated. And the data is there. If the cost of a 2 kilogram packet of maize flour was 218 in 2022, you cannot change it to 105. And if it is today 176 or 184, you cannot change it to 100. So these are real data. That is the cost of living. Cost of living is about cost of basic commodities. And the statistics are there. And I don't think there is anyone who can dispute that. And if you want to know that that is the reality, early 2023, when we really felt that the cost of basic commodities could not be afforded by ordinary people, we had sufurias on our heads. Today, how many people are in the streets with the sufurias on their heads? I don't see them. It means now the cost of what was being cooked by sufuria has gone down. So that is what I'm saying in a nutshell. There is another point that I want to mention. Allow me to just open the page where it is. The Kenya's economic outlook has been facing challenges mostly as a result of debt payment and debt servicing cost. That's a fact. You have been informed that now we are consuming about 48% of our ordinary revenue is going into servicing our debts in terms of interests. That is not sustainable. And we have recognized that as a risk area. However, I want to tell you that the government has also done a lot to make sure that we reduce the debt risks that was facing this country, or has been facing this country. Early last year, there was panic in our economy. The panic was that we were likely to default on paying our debt, meeting our debt obligation. There was a $2 billion Eurobond coming to maturity by June, and was supposed to be a bullet payment without any plan at all to pay it. And therefore, there was a panic early in the year. The shilling lost ground, almost 165 to the dollar. But because of what the government did then, and what we have continued to do in terms of managing our liability and the debts, First, the shilling appreciated now to around 129.2 to the dollar, and has stayed around 128 to 130 for over 1 year. I hear some people say, is this real? The reality is, it is real. If you want to know that it is real, look at the forex reserves. You see, the shilling would lose ground when there is a threat to the reserves that we have in the country. And our reserves are at 5.2 months of import cover, up from 3.8 a year ago, and up from 2.3 months of import cover in 2022, when this administration is no longer new. But when this administration came into office, we had forex reserve to import cover of less than 3 months, which is the minimum requirement. Today, we have the 5.2. And that clearly demonstrates. Another reason why you are seeing us doing relatively well is because our exports. There is something that has happened in our exports, especially the coffee and horticulture. We are exporting more. Exports grew at 7.7%. That growth has narrowed the current account balance from 2.6% of GDP in 2022 to 1.3% now. That is halving the deficit, reducing the deficit by half. What has that done to us? Plus the diaspora remittances, and plus the fact that we were able early this year to foresee and project that there will be a Eurobond falling due for payment in 2027 May, that we must deal with it early so that we don't create another panic in the economy. We did that early. We have eliminated the risk. And we were very timely. In fact, most countries are wondering. When I meet with my colleagues, they are saying, how did you foresee this? The moment we went into the market and managed our 2027 liability, the markets have closed. If we delayed even for a month, we wouldn't have succeeded. So there is something positive, something progressive that is happening, which cannot be done in the streets. It is done by clear and strategic thinking. And that is why S&P last Friday upgraded us. These are not people who just upgrade you because they like you. These are people who have considered all the factors, and they give reasons why they have upgraded Kenya from B- to B plain, if you want or if you like, with a positive outlook. Why did they do that? They have cited, first, improved current account balance, 2, which is informed by exports and diaspora remittances, and 3, they have said clearly and categorically that the government's decision early this year to liability manage the Eurobond that was falling due in 2027 has given Kenya a positive outlook. And can't you see that as a positive for this government? That is positive. And I want to repeat, that is something you don't do in political rallies. That is something you can never do in church. That is something that you do by pragmatically thinking and progressive mind to forecast and project what is likely to create a risk in the economy. Let me move quickly. So I have mentioned, now look at the lending rates, and I will tie the lending rates to the government borrowing rates. 1 year ago, the 91-day treasury bill was trading at 16%. For government to access to access funds by issuance of 91-day treasury bill, we had to offer 16% as interest. Last Thursday, it was at exactly 8%. 50% of what was there 1 year ago. And even the 182-day treasury bill is at 8.07% last Thursday. This Thursday, it may even come down below 8%. Now, that has done something. One, it has also helped in reducing the lending rates to the private sector. In November 2024, the average rate was 17.2. July this year, it is at 15.3. And this you can see has effect in the private sector, where the credit uptake was had declined to negative 2.9%. It has now gone to 3.3%, and we expect it to rise. Those are the economic fundamentals that would help the economy grow. It is not about fights in the streets. It's not about fights in funerals. It is about what you do to help the economy pick up. I think I'm just remaining with one or two things to mention, and I finish. We have, because of the tightening fiscal space, we have also decided to look at other innovative ways of financing our budget and financing infrastructure. One of them is the PPP programs. I want MDS to embrace PPP. Before you ask us for extra budgetary allocation, exhaust the possibilities of raising funds through PPP, especially commercially viable projects. We now have Rironi Mau Summit in the pipeline, progressing well. I am sure it will be concluded soon. That will be a major infrastructure project in this country. The other one that I would mention, and my PS visited it recently, that is Galana Kulalu, is in progress under PPP. We have a number under the energy sector, and I want to encourage all MDAs, including even county governments, come up with projects that can be funded through PPP programs. We are also, I will not talk much about securitization and privatization. Privatization is not selling state assets. It is releasing some shares and retaining some to allow for private sector participation. Because private sector participation in commercially viable state-owned enterprises would have immense benefits, one of which is to improve efficiency and allow for more access to capital, and reduces bureaucracy. I will tell you, just the other day, I had an issue with Kenya Pipeline, which we want to privatize. And the issue was this, that Kenya Pipeline has had a system that they are using for procurement. It is an electronic system. But because we have given instruction to all government ministries, departments, and agencies, and state corporations, they have now to abandon that system and get into e-procurement. However, this is a company that is out there that we want to sell shares on. And once we sell the shares, they will go back to another system, which is not a government system. But they cannot do that because they need approval. So they have to come all the way to the treasury for approval. That is the kind of bureaucracy that we don't need. And you know, right now, they need to procure what is going to help them to service the supplies to Uganda. The more they delay in making that decision, we are likely to lose that market. So you need a faster decision making in such a company. You cannot realize it with the government bureaucracies. We need to face it. So you need some of these state-owned enterprises which are commercially viable. We need to release some of the shares to the private sector. We will even be deepening the capital market. Nairobi Securities Exchange will perform better with more IPOs, with more companies being released. So let us not resist. Let us not be complacent. Just because this is the way we have been doing things, we want to be very comfortable. Because KICC is making some 4 billion every year. Yet it can make even 15 billion. So we want to retain our 4 billion, 3 billion, which is 100%. What if it makes 15 billion and we have only 40% shareholding? That will be 6 billion to the exchequer in terms of dividend. So that is my request, that we as a country embrace new thinking, fresh thinking. Lastly, we are we are employing a number of reforms. And these reforms are meant to cut on expenditure, because there is wastage in government. I can see the Auditor General is here. I had not recognized her. Nancy is here. Her books are full of audit queries around expenditure. And we know what we are doing when it comes to procurement. You know what you people do in your offices. You know how your procurement people pluck papers from documents that are submitted by suppliers. And then in evaluation, you tell them you are not compliant. You are not tax compliant. Information you can even get from KRA yourself. So someone has quoted 1 billion less, but is denied opportunity to do business with government because you want another person to win that tender. And so you will manipulate the documents. You will pluck those papers. That is what we are trying to cure with e-procurement. And this e-procurement, you people must implement it. This resistance I'm seeing, you will just have to stop it. Oh, it is not working. Gee, what? I am not going to buy that narrative. I know many people are frustrating this system. We are not going to allow it. You better embrace the system and get going. Otherwise, you will not procure. Hiyo ni ukweli. We will save close to 200 billion if we implement this system. Already, we have registered suppliers of 7,286 by 25th of August. We are doing weekly training to suppliers every Thursday on webinars to these suppliers. Let me give you the statistics. We were targeting to train 840 for state departments. We have trained 804. That is 95% achievement. So if kama umebaki hapo nje, remember you are just in the 5%. County executive and assemblies were 715. We have trained 700, 98%. Only 15 have not been trained. State corporations was 1,600. We have trained 844. This one is low at 53%. And state corporations webinar, we were to train 6,400. We have trained 3,297, 51%. Those who have not been trained, please get to the training. As we speak, what we are doing right now is pulling budget from IFMIS to EGP system. Head of procurement to create all organization users. We are going to embark on preparation and approval of the annual procurement and disposal plans. That will be done. So we must integrate budget and requisitions. Integration with IFMIS is complete. So if this has not happened, start it. Commitment of POs and payments. You should start that system. Tomorrow, I'm going to chair a meeting where the service provider will be present. We are going to deal with all those teething problems, all those challenges. Any new system must face challenges. So don't use that as an excuse to kill this initiative. You will not kill it. So you better adopt. Align yourself. Accounting officers, I hope you are listening to me. Align yourself with e-procurement. There will be no excuses. It's going to help this country, and I'm not going to let this country down by dropping the ball on this one. Even on integrating the payroll system, counties are still resisting. County executives. I want to tell them and my team, you better listen. This thing of saying that we are only going to start with MDAs and then county assemblies as we wait for executives, county executives to be ready. When will they be ready? There is no justification. They must also be onboarded. We must integrate the payroll system. This idea of ghost workers, we must find a way of eliminating ghost workers. You go to counties, there are parallel payroll systems. Some manual, some casual, what? To the extent the salaries that are paid in counties are over 50%. Some counties pay 55% of their revenue of what they get, both from the national government and on-source revenue. They pay 55% to staff. They have employed people who should not even be in the payroll. Directors of everything. Border. Director. Unakuta kila mtu akona file kubwa kubwa. We have so many a lot of wastage. We must bring that to an end. And then you recover people's salary and you don't even remit to NSSF, to pension funds, and then you are telling us you are not ready. Why are you not ready? So my team at the Treasury, and this is an instruction, county executives must be onboarded the soonest possible. This month we are paying MDAs and county assemblies using the integrated payroll system. I hope there is no more excuse. My PS is looking at me. This is instruction, daktari. Hii ni instruction. Uangalie hiyo imefanyika. And then, if we are giving county executives, it should not be more than 1 month. Hii maneno ya 2026, ikome. There is no justification. We can onboard county executive also. We are doing very well with the pension. Let us make sure we conclude that. All these reforms, if we can carry them out, there will be enough money for you people who are always crowding in my office, making calls to me that you need budget adjustment. Now you need budget adjustment and you don't want us to free money which is being stolen. If you want us to help you, help us. We free this money which people are stealing to you to implement government programs for the benefit of the people of Kenya. I don't think that is a big ask. That's a very small ask from you. So, I think I'm done. I am done. I have made myself very clear. In closing, I want to emphasize that the success of the sector working groups depends on our collective effort, as I mentioned. Dedication and shared vision for a prosperous Kenya. I urge all participants to approach this task with professionalism, integrity, and a commitment to excellence. I know my peers umesimama, but let me tell you, I want to just plead with you. Help National Treasury. We are going through a lot of stress. My friend there at the end, PS for special programs, will come to me when there are problems across the country. I can't let him down. Because when there is an emergency, you must respond to emergency. Interior, there will be a problem somewhere, God forbid. They will rush to come to me. We are not giving enough money for capitation. We have not been doing it for 7 years, and I have no apologies to make. We have sat with the PSS for education and the CS for education to look at that gap under the instruction of the president. And we have seen the gap. We want to get more resources to capitation so that our children can go to school. We want to give more money to Higher Education Loans Board. And by the way, tomorrow we are releasing the money. I hope, Jane, that is correct. Ashuka. Yes, PS, that is correct. We are giving the money, the 17 billion plus 5.9, which is for examination. That is 23 billion. And we should also give money, look for money for help to give this week so that our children go to school. So tomorrow, money for capitation will go to the Ministry of Education. But it is not enough. So I want you to help national treasury by making more resources available. We educate our children, we provide enough money for health. Primary health care has 13.1 billion, but we need 19.5. So we still lack 6.4, which we must put there, because Kenyans must be treated when they fall sick. So instead of us manipulating procurement to make more money for us, and we earn some decent salary, it may not be too decent, but it is reasonable, and from taxpayers' money, let us make money available to Kenyans to get essential services. And this government is bold enough. I am ending there. This government is I don't think there is any government which will be as bold as this government. A government which in 1 year decides to implement universal health cover, which defeated all the governments from independence. And then you criticize and you say one term because of trying to fix a problem that has been with us since independence. Then we have also implemented education reforms the same year. We have employed 76,000 teachers 3 years, and we are employing another 24,000 this year. In 4 years, we are going to employ 100,000, a target which had been planned for 5 years. This government is bold to start even housing program. Very bold government. So if you're working for this government, help this bold government to achieve its objective. Otherwise, I want to end there, because if I go beyond that, you know where we'll end. Thank you very much, and I want to thank you for coming in big numbers. I never imagined that we'll have this kind of turnout. Thank you very much. This clearly demonstrates that you are interested in moving this program forward, this budget process forward, and you have demonstrated that you are keen in managing your various units as accounting officers. May God bless you. Asanteni sana.
I think that's not enough for Cabinet Secretary. Can we give him another round of applause? We are very lucky at the National Treasury to have a team leader who is very eloquent when it comes to communication. I think our weakness has been in communicating the good things that we have achieved. Another round of applause for him, please. CS, before we go for break, I think it's good to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. And as I was sitting there, I got a message from someone who wanted an update on pending bills. I thought CS, you would have done it, but let me go ahead and do it. We received a total of 115,617 pending bills claims, valued at 64.8 billion. This was analyzed by the Pending Bills Verification Committee, and 78,567 bills have been analyzed, totaling 571.5 billion. Those undergoing analysis are 37,050, amounting to 93.3 billion. So the total recommended for settlement is 26,785, amounting to 226.5 billion. And this number could have changed because there was a retreat by the committee recently. So we'll be updating the public soon. Of these 226, 80.3 billion has been settled through the road sector through the securitization. So we have 146.2 billion. That is, this number could rise to around 150. And we have indicated in the fiscal framework that we intend to settle this amount this fiscal year, and it's tied with the reforms, the SOE reforms and the privatization reforms that we indicated earlier. I think that's the update I have to give. Okay, so let's give you a chance to ask questions. I can see, can you give the microphone? Say your name and the institution you represent, or where you come from.
Thank you so much, PS Chris. My name is Samuel Smith. I am a child, and I am not alone. We have come here, a group of 10 children, and we are here to urge the MDS and all stakeholders as they start planning for the next fiscal year. So you would like to borrow like around 3 minutes because we came with recommendations.
So you have them?
Yes, we have them here. So first of all, we want to thank you because last time we were here during public participation and you considered what we as children said and what we directed to every state department. Number two, we want to also thank you for the allocations you made to us children in education and all other child-focused ministries and the newly established State Department for Children's Services. So our recommendation for this fiscal year 2026-2027 as children would love all the MDS, not only Treasury, to not only consider our voices but to incorporate what we have to say. The Cabinet Secretary mentioned here that public participation is the gap. And I would love to invite you to take a moment and reflect if this budget that for the last fiscal year, if it really reflected our needs as children, our lived realities, and the dreams we had. So we want to challenge all of you, even to be champions for us children. So as when you're scheming those programs, you're asking for allocations, how do they reflect the youngest citizens? And I'm sure that you are aware, all of you, that we are nearly 50% of the population of Kenya. So if you keep on brushing us aside, it's like when you say children are the future leaders, it's like a mere declaration. So we need genuine child participation, which is meaningful. Number three, we know that the country is in an economic struggle, and our fear is that we're gonna have cuts from our child-focused MDAs. So our request is, if it won't be possible to increase the resources allocated, kindly maintain it. In education, we suffered so much because of the cuts we had, because of the delayed resources. Even with the newly established State Department for Children's Services. But we really thank for what you're doing. So that's our request.
Thank you.
And last one is that we want to, all of you here in this room, want you to embrace a sense of ownership, that let this not be a responsibility only to MDS or to Treasury. Also the parliamentarians that are here, it is only you who approve the budget. So as children of Kenya, we like you people to champion it for us. Let them bring the data. How have they involved us children? You see, genuinely. And we are very willing to have a forum like this for children.
Thank you.
Before I hand off the mic, there is one more request from us.
Go ahead, please. And
Good morning.
Yeah.
My name is Karen Makoma. I am a child, a Kenyan child as well, as Sam Smith said. We did have more recommendations. It's really scary to stand in front of here to speak to really important leaders. So I feel like you would pardon us a bit on the shakiness of our voices.
Relax, relax.
So again, I'd like to thank Honorable Mbadi for the money that was allocated to children in education, Because I feel like when I had first read the budget and I read that the budget was cut for education, you just think about the children in the remote areas who have the exams this year, and that they know that they're already going to be paid for. Then you're going to pay for your own exams. It's a bit degrading, mostly because, children are the future, yes? So it's a bit degrading, and I'd like to thank him so much again for that.
Okay.
Just the last one. Our CS, Honorable Mbadi, mentioned that the government, all of you here, have a long way to go for economic stability. So this is from us children. We feel like you overlook this, you think of maybe other things, but have you ever thought of why not start investing at the youngest people, you see? Because that's where we will bridge in these gaps. Yes, we know there are minimal resources to allocate for us, but if you truly and genuinely come and listen to us, we are ready to help you guys, to work with all of you, to make Kenya fit for every child. And again, before we hand off the mic, Madam Auditor General, Madam Nancy, this is our personal request that you also champion for us. As children, we don't have people up there at the parliament when the executive is sitting, when you guys are scheming these programs, when you're writing budgets, you know what you do. So, you're the big boss there, and even the parliamentary committee. Before you approve that, even invite us children to the parliament.
Okay.
Ask us, you see, how does it truly reflect the needs, our dreams, and our lived realities? Because we are the vulnerable group in the society.
Let me ask you to, because I think we have taken a lot of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am currently the president of the Children Assembly. And we are under the State Department for Children's Services. So we even have a plan how you guys can engage us in this process of this fiscal year.
So can I propose, there is a PS for State Department for Children. She's here. Madam, make sure you have a session with him and the 10 colleagues so that you bring them now through your State Department, you bring them through this budget making process.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Asante sana. Mpigie makofi. It's good to have our children speak to us. The next, and I want us to, because of time, can I see how many people want to speak? I see 2 people there and another one here, another one there, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay. Please be brief. Go straight to the question. Yeah, start from there.
Thank you so much, PS Chris. For me, is also to echo what the child said. I want to thank you for this year ensuring that you're incorporating children's voices in public participation and to increase...
Your name? Your name?
Sorry. My name is Atulo Joseph. I work for an organization called Mtoto News. We champion for children's rights. So on the data, we had public participation in now 9 counties. If we could have an increase on the same, that would really be nice to get to hear from more children. The other one, I love the fact that the CS mentioned about communication at Treasury and how you're improving that. And so for us, I'm sitting next to a child and they keep asking me, what is fiscal Atulo? What is capital? What is expenditure? So for me, is just about to mention that the organization I work for, we assist in simplifying some of these issues for children. And this will be an invite to Treasury and to all stakeholders here from the different state departments. If you can reach out to us, or if you can find a way of reaching out to you and ensuring how we can work together to simplify some of these issues for children. In June, we were working on the topic of budgeting, and we brought experts who simplified what budgeting is for children. And so also to invite the CS or you, the PS, to a show that we have. It's called Mtoto na Sheria. the show basically brings experts to simplify some of these issues to children, and it would be nice to have that. Thank you.
I give you commitment, CS and myself and the rest of our team are ready to whenever you are ready also. Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you very much, High Table. I want to be very brief. My name is Daniel Murugu. I'm here due to public interest. First, CS, PS, and the Chair Budget Committee, I want to salute everybody in the House. I love this approach of one government approach in budget making, and also the philosophy of leaving no one behind. I see the children had the time to articulate their issues. When CS, I think I was here last year, and on a particular date of November 20th, we missed you because you happened to have attended a meeting in Mombasa. So for me, I've been attending this meeting the last about 10 years, so I'm actually familiar with the topical issue for discussion. I want to be very brief. In terms of experience, and of course this is very true, every year we are here, we formulate budgets which run a deficit approach. I would want to recommend a very, very simple recommendation that probably one appears, you can consider to do what I may propose to be budget research framework. That we can have the National Treasury researching on the budget patterns and trend, maybe for a period maybe of the coming next 10 years. Because I find that I would also want to confirm that all what the submissions we've made in terms of increase of exports, diaspora remittance, and also your approach in terms of debt servicing is very true. So these are very simple recommendations on maybe we can be able to research our budget in advance so that we are actually well informed of actually maybe what are the challenges and maybe what are our area of strength. In terms of what I may propose to be a SWOT for the budget, and without commenting on what actually are weak areas, I want to share with the participants what I believe are our area of strengths. Number one, as a country and as a grown-up, because the first speakers before me were young people, I love the goodwill we are getting from our development partners who are here today, and they are always here whenever we are here. Pongezi kwa developers. This is an area of strength which we need to exploit fully. Number two, in terms of public procurement, in terms of PPP, when CS, I was with you at Serena about 2 weeks ago. Under this framework, in this financial year, we are about to unlock 700 billion. That these money that can actually go to do projects across all sectors: irrigation, housing, roads, water, and all over. So this is an area that also would also want to exploit fully, so that maybe the little money we budget as a national treasury can actually be made for better use for our people. I want to recommend that one. In terms of what you talk about privatization, for Kenya Pipeline, I'm happy you give a guarantee that me as Mwananchi, I'll be able to own shares of Kenya Pipeline. But as CS, don't be taken in a reverse manner. Would want that IPO floated tomorrow. Okay. From our meager resources, we can be able to invest like we did in Safaricom. And we are getting dividends this week, Bwana CS. So please, the aspect of privatization, when you do that in good intentions, and you want ordinary Kenyans to have a stake in these companies,
thank you, Daniel.
These I support. I'm just about to end.
Please.
I'm just about to end. Bwana CS, I read the story on the SP yesterday in the Standard Searcher, and this actually was a good information to the general public. Finally, Bwana CS, in terms of public participation, I would want to confirm that National Treasury will be doing the same, because every year we assemble here in the month of November for about 3 days.
Thank you.
But also, going by what I saw yesterday, and these young people are here with me 3 days, I would request that we have proper coordination and planning for the same. Today, Bwana CS, we have a full house, but in a particular date in November, when these children want to articulate their issues, you find the entire Department of Children's Services is not here. So please, when you talk about public participation, government officers, you are duty bearers. For each of the specific sectors, coming for the sector public hearings, would want government officer to sit with Wananchi. Because last year, the session were ending at
Daniel,
8 at night, PS.
Daniel,
And we were not able to move out this Nairobi area. So please, would also want, because that is now the serious business after this, I would want proper planning and coordination for the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Next.
Thank you very much. My name is Abraham Rugo. I work with Budgeti Hub, and it's a pleasure. First of all, I want to really commend the openness of the Treasury. I think when a PS, you indicated that the CS has really opened up the Treasury, communicating to citizens. But there are two things I would like to really raise today. One is the reason why Kenyans are not experiencing the reduction in cost of living is something that I have not heard in this discussion today, which is the question about incomes. Real wages, according to statistics, are actually going down. And therefore, even if the cost of products has come down and the real wages are going down, then it's almost a 0-0 effect. I'd really like to hear a comment, because unless we discuss the incomes issue, tax revenue, everything we are saying about, and that also is the fact that private sector, as you've noted, lending, whereas T-bills have gone down by 50%, private sector has only gone down by 2% credit to private sector in terms of from 17 to 15%. That's still very high within the kind of current economic. I think that is a conversation that I would urge, because we can discuss about freeing money, we can discuss about all these other things, but the income question, I think for me, is critical. And it does actually speak to the fact that employment creation is not improving, because for me that's critical. Secondly, the question around technology and its utilization. In an economy like Kenya, where a lot of people need hand jobs, when you look at the sectors that are currently driving services, financial sector, are largely tech-driven, and therefore they do not necessarily employ mass number of people. But when you look at areas like manufacturing, which we are saying is still pulling behind, yet it's the core of the value chain approach to development. I think that's an area that should be doubled down in terms of emphasis and focus to move us. And technology also in participation. Only so many of us can fit in this room. But a lot of our young people are on technology. Can the National Treasury actually, the Finance Committee in Parliament, in National Assembly, did utilize technology so that you can get real-time feedback on the issues? And now with AI, you actually can collate so much information within such a short time and process it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, I think I saw somebody there, please.
Thank you. My name is Albert Juma from Western Region. Mine was an applause to the CS, especially on education sector, where he has confirmed that capitation will be released soon to our children. Capitation, sir, has been an issue basically because of NEMIS. Whenever funds are dispersed to schools, names of children are removed from the system. When the NEMIS system was an issue, it was to be replaced by KEMIS. We don't know how far KEMIS is going to be effective. Otherwise, thank you, sir, for having our children in mind.
Thank you. Next, I can see there.
Thank you, CS. My name is Festus Member. I was with the Gen Zs, and they wanted to be represented here, but they were afraid of being arrested. So I told them I can come and be a sacrifice for them. Of course, the government recognizes Gen Z that is a leaderless group, but it is an existential threat, especially to our economy and to political stability. Mr. CS, we recognize your presence here, and we want to ask you if you can actually invite me in your office so that I can give you some names of the GNCs whom you can employ in the government, because I want this budget to be allocated to some money to be allocated to the GNC, so that we can cool the temperatures down. Yeah. The GNCs have degrees, but they don't have employment. So they will actually cooperate with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Thank you. All protocols observed. My name is Davis Simiu. I'm a businessman. Mheshimiwa, you've given us a very good speech concerning your office, and I wanted to speak on something. I wanted to talk about corruption, of which I think the country needs this corruption to be a disaster, because this is the issue that is affecting all ministries and the whole country. That is why we are having so many problems, and the government is not meeting the expectations of Mwananchi. So we need, I want to ask the CS that we are even planning to amend the Constitution of Kenya, because it has got so many gaps that are actually making those people who are in offices to use it for the purpose of corrupting the public funds. Number two, the CS talked about public participation. And for us to make this public participation to be real, we want members of parliament, Mheshimiwa Atandi included, to make a public participation act that can enhance members of the public to come and give in their input. And in that respect, they can also even pay them some allowances, the way they pay sitting allowances for members of parliament. Number two, we have this national government CDF funds. Bwana CS, we want you actually to talk with the stakeholders. This money should not be handled by members of parliament. We want the money to be handled by the Minister of Education and those line offices, because the work of MPs is oversight, laws and representation. Sio kujenga. Kwa hivyo hiyo, tunataka msaidie Mheshimiwa Atandi, uongee na wabunge mzuri sana. Wawachana na hiyo pesa ende kwa serikali, tukue vile tulikuanga zamani na Kenya School of Equipment Scheme. Hata mtoto hakuwa ananunua kalamu na kitabu, exercise book and textbook. Zote zilikuwa zinalipwa. Hata maziwa irudi kwa shule. The other issue, Mheshimiwa, ni you talked about realigning and reducing some ministries. Na mimi nataka kuongea juu ya commissions. We have commissions that are busy bodies. We have commissions in these countries, they are not even working. We have commissions in this country, they are compromising even the security of the Republic of Kenya. Na mimi nataka National Police Service Commission itolewe, police ibaki vile ilikuwa. The way we see the KDF, they don't have commissions and they are working properly. Lakini mambo ya kupambana huku na iko security, that is an issue. Hiyo kazi wajue Inspector General na madeputy wake wote wafanye hiyo kazi. Commission hiyo, wakati tunaamendi katiba hivi karibuni, we want to remove such commissions. They have done nothing. Hata mimi niliwaandikia barua 2023, up to now they have not acted on it. Sijui hiyo commission iko US ama iko Kenya. The last one, over the radical surgery of these departments, Mheshimiwa. Tuko na ministries ama departments kama KWS. Na tuko na Kenya Forest Service. KWS inachunga wanyama. Kenya Forest Service inachunga miti. And they are doing the same thing on the same environment. Why can't we join such departments ikuwe moja, tupunguze mambo ya employees? Lastly, ni mambo ya audit queries, whereby madam anaongea kila wakati, anaandika kwa makaseti, nothing is done. I don't know EACC kwa sababu we have got hidden corruption. Ile corruption ya ndani, ile wanaendanga na proxies na watu wengine, ambayo EACC hawezi investigate, like the nepotism, tribalism, and the money that is taken by so and so and being given to so and so without any evidence. EACC cannot investigate that. Sisi tunaomba sasa kwa saai all agencies to respect the audit queries raised by madam, na action must be taken with immediate effect. Because unaona ya kwamba mtu amekula pesa ya kampuni fulani ama ya serikali, alafu akipelekwa kotini anakaa 10 years na hiyo pesa haiendi kwa SHA, haiendi kwa health. Hiyo pesa tunatakana akishikwa hivi hivi anachukuliwa hiyo pesa yote na rudi.
Thank you very much. I think we had someone here. And that should be the last one, please.
Thank you. Thank you, PS.
Wanaona mzee mwingine pale. Okay, nitakupatia nafasi. Who was it that was speaking? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, asante sana.
Sorry, I was speaking. Before the mic went off.
Who is that?
Be.
Uko hapa chini. Okay, endelea mama, alafu tuende kwa mzee. Yeah.
So thank you for that comprehensive briefing. It's clear Treasury is...
Tell us your name.
Oh, sorry, my name is Agnes Kalechenguna. I am the CEO of the national broadcaster KBC. It's clear the National Treasury is navigating a complex fiscal environment with a focus of discipline and growth under the Better Act. Half of the revenue going to interest and pension and a focus on concluding stalled projects. What guidance can you offer for MDAs like ours? Critical funding. So it keeps on going on. So the question is, what, with nearly half of the revenue going to interest and pension and a focus on concluding stalled projects, what guidance can you offer MDAs like ours to creatively secure funding for critical capital expenditures like technology upgrades, expansion, that are essential to fulfilling our public mandate as a national broadcaster in the digital age? And the second one is advice. The second one is an offer for partnership. So the directive for enhanced public participation in our budget-making process is crucial. The Treasury can work with the public broadcaster to create dedicated, accessible programs and town halls to demystify the national budgets and actively gather citizen input, thus strengthening this reform. So that's from me. That is it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Those are good questions. Now we can finish with the last person at the corner there. You can speak from there. Can't we see you from there? Yeah.
Okay, asante sana. Jina langu naitwa Nicholas Domokwang. Natoka West Pokot County. Na niko na cheo mbili hapa ambao ndasema. Kwanza mimi ni retired civil servant na nitazungumzia juu ya pension. Nauliza tu CS kama iko kwa hiyo mpango ya kesho. Pension ya kwanza ya mwisho sisi kuongezewa ilikuwa ni 2005. Mpaka leo bado kuongeza ingine, sijui kama iko kwa hii budget. Alafu ya pili itakuwa kama nilikuwa tumepeana request yetu bado kujibiwa mpaka sasa, na tulikuwa nataka iwe 15,000 minimum pension kwa kile lower cadre. So mi mwenyewe ni Secretary General West Pokot County ya senior citizens. Alafu recognize retirees as professionals, officers. Alafu ndio wa qualify katika kile article 21 stroke bracket 3, inclusivity of all ages. Alafu ya ine, kama member of MMF tuna kubaliana na privatization ile ambayo tulikuwa ya juzi, address also unemployment. Kuna hii mambo ya unemployment kwa yule alikuwa anatetea GNC hapa. Inatakiwa kuwa katika constitution ilikuwa nataka 70% wale wako nyumbani, wale wa county, 30% wale wengine, ndio inalete balance yote. So asante, hiyo ndio nilikuwa na zungumzia.
Asante sana. Pigia makofi. I can see one more person. Endelea, maliza haraka.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. My name is Barasa, and I'll be very brief from Nairobi with only 3 questions. My first question is, from the Treasury, we have seen that is an expert in terms of financial organization. Kenyans have a question, and the government to tell Kenyans, can the Treasury tell us the financial budget, the year 2025-2026, where you rate it in Parliament, how much money was allocated for the youth and women empowerment? That is ongoing every weekend for the government official, where millions of shillings are being issued out. The second question to the Treasury from the Kenyans. What plans do you have to improve the economy of this country? Yet we have witnessed a lot of money in the hands of few individuals than the government, which you allege do not have enough money to pay for capitation, and some intern doctors, and you've seen even nurses who have been witnessed on the street demonstrating for not being paid. The third question is, in your budget for 2025-2026, if I'm not wrong, there was no budget set aside for the research, which is very important component in terms of scientific study and climate change in our country. What are you doing this as the Treasury? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. So CS, I think you can now lead us in answering the questions. We can support you.
Let me try to take the shortest time possible, and then PS, if there's something that you want to pick up, or DG Mwenda or the other PS, you can come in. First, let me appreciate all of you who have had opportunity to get the mic. I think this is a representation of Kenyans voicing their concerns, and that is the essence of this particular forum, that we wanted to start on a positive note with public participation. We have heard you. Actually, you have been recorded. We will make sure that we again listen to your contributions and take action. And what a better way to start than with the children. Actually, this was very positive and progressive. I want to just maybe point out that it's not just the Department of Children Affairs who will be taking care of the concerns of the children. We must mainstream the children issues in the budget as a whole. So all MDAs, all ministries, kindly take note of the concern of children. In your public participation, involve the children so that your budgets are responsive to the children needs, because these are the future of our nation. So we need to listen more to the children. Now, Joseph, you spoke about increasing public participation in the counties. I think we should be as widespread as possible in this public participation. And the National Treasury is also going to increase the number of counties where we will conduct public participation, of course, with proper representation, so that, you know, you may do 20 and they are from one part of the country. So we want, even if they are 15 or 10, let the 10 be representative enough so that we cover as much as we possibly can. And we can get also representation from other neighboring counties to the counties where we will conduct this public participation exercise for more transparency and accountability. I want to emphasize again that the new thinking, not only at the National Treasury but in the government, is to be as consultative and as transparent and as accountable as we possibly can. So it is the policy of the government. Please make sure that those who are going to be involved, that we carry it through. In terms of budget research, I have taken note, Dalan, what you have said about budget research framework, that we need to do some research and find out how the budget has been responsive. That is correct. That is something that I think my team has noted. Running a budget that has no deficits may not be something that can be realized in the medium term. We may realize that in the long term, but the journey must start now. And the journey starts with reducing the budget deficit over the years. Remember, there was a time it was at 8.3. We have been reducing it. Now it is at 5.8. And of course, I said that compared to the other previous years, last year's budget implementation was better. And so, even though we had a higher budget deficit, but overall, in terms of including also the budget carryovers, we did much better. So going forward, and with the accrual accounting, we will capture all government's commitments and liabilities, including what we have been calling the pending bills, which don't form part of our budget deficit. Going forward, it will be in the budget deficit. So we'll have a more realistic budget deficit. Abraham, you have spoken about what are we doing about real wages going down. Yes, research has shown that real wages are going down, and something needs to be done. However, sometimes it is exaggerated. I will tell you as a fact that we have overplayed the effect of the tax adjustments that were done in 2023 to the extent that people believe in this country that with those tax adjustments of 2023, that life has become so unbearable. And that is where you hear people say that taxes have increased, but the taxes they are talking about is the income tax. I will tell you, anyone who is earning below 100,000, and you can challenge me on this, anyone who is earning about 70,000, 80,000, there is nothing you have lost from your salary you are earning before the finance bill of 2023, which is now an act of parliament. There's nothing you have lost. Why do I say so? The concern that people have had is the issue, the housing levy, 1.5%, and the 2.75% of the contribution to SHIF. If you're earning 100,000, you have lost not more than 1,275 after the adjustments of December 2024. Many did not take note of what we did in December 2024 because it was positive. People only take note when something is negative. Because it was positive, few people took note. In fact, many people opposed the amendments that I took to Parliament with the tax laws amendment bills, which was basically providing some relief. Now, if you take 100,000, someone who is earning 100,000, out of that, the increase the housing levy and the contribution to SHA, or SHIF, if you like, is 4.25% of your salary. The 4.25% gives you 4,250. But remember now, if that deduction was not there, the money would have come to you, yes. But the government would have taken 30% of it as tax anyway. So you would have only got 70% of it. Because now a contribution to SHA and contribution to housing levy is tax deductible. So that contribution is deductible. If that money did not go to SHA and it did not go to housing levy, it would have come to you less 30% because we would have taxed it. Now we are not taxing it because we have already taken it. So in a sense, you have only lost 70% because 30% was going to government anyway. And 70% is 2,975. But remember, before this SHA, you were paying NHIF. And I've done my research. Those who are earning 100,000 were contributing 1,700. So the difference is 1,275. Call it 1,300. Those who are earning way below 100,000, some of them are gaining. From what they were earning before the finance bill of 2023 to now, they are gaining. Those who are losing some money is 100,000 and above. But it is not so exaggerated after the tax laws amendment bill. I just wanted to clarify that. It's a bit complex because it's in terms of numbers. I've really tried to simplify Abraham. And you, I'm sure you understand it very well because I know who you are. But because people want to weaponize the tax, the finance bill of 2023, they want to create an impression in this country that because of that, those amendments, Kenyans are suffering so much. Even though we have taken some actions, including increasing the pension contribution, monthly contribution allowable for tax purposes from 20,000 per month to 30,000 per month, which many of you here are benefiting and enjoying that. No one is mentioning that as a progressive step by the government. It was not there in 2023, it was not there in 2020, it was not there in 2013. It is there now. Increase from 20 to 30,000 per month. Post-retirement medical scheme, if you make contribution to post-retirement medical scheme, something that has not been there is now attracting tax relief. These are progressive steps done by this government from December last year to date. Because it is positive, few people talk about it. And many of us who go to talk shows because we want to appear like we are always criticizing the government and we know that the truth and we have those truth, we hide them. Why? Because you want your government to look bad. That's it. But it's also the work of this government to tell you to put the correct position. And that is what I'm doing. That's what I've been employed to do. And if it is not the correct position, tell me your correct position. You can invite me, we can pair together at Citizen Thuku, or NTV, or even KTN. Credit rates, yes. I agree with you that the credit extension of credit to the private sector by our financial institution is not as responsive as we want it to be. And this is something that we have been working on, including the central bank. We are asking, look, you cannot say in this economy that we are crowding out the private sector. That is not true. The recent developments with the infrastructure, IFB, the one that we issued the other day, that bond has demonstrated that we have a lot of liquidity in our economy. Clearly, you can see it. So you are asking, why are our financial institutions still reluctant to give the private sector money? One of the reasons, and I think the government has contributed to it, is that a lot of private sector do business with government. And when government fail to pay them, the effect, there is a spiral effect even in the financial sector. So most of the financial sector or financial institutions do not want to extend credit to private sector because they know they will supply government and the government will not pay, and this will be non-performing loans. That is one of the actions that this government is taking, so that we pay government suppliers in good time. And going forward, government suppliers will be paid in good time. Why? Because we have managed to have realistic revenue projections, so that these accounting officers don't spend money that they don't have. We have been spending money that we don't have by over-projecting revenue. Then the accounting officers, because they have a budget, they procure. At the end of the financial year, the bills end up as pending bills. The effect is that those suppliers, those contractors went to the bank, borrowed money, came and offered service to the government. When they are not paid, that goes back to the financial institution as non-performing loan. So one step is for the government to make sure that we are realistic in our revenue projection, so that every budget item that is in that budget book has money to support it. Then we clear the pending bills, some dating back to 2005. And my peers has explained what we are doing about it. The road construction we are addressing. But we are also working on a plan to start paying some bills this financial year, so that we clear those pending bills and we make sure that we don't accumulate pending bills. We have started already 2024-25, I've told you here, that we didn't carry over. That is a starting point to give confidence to our financial sector that the government is a good partner to do business with. Any private sector supplying government, doing business with government will get paid. Then the financial institutions will now have confidence to extend loan credits to the private sector. Now let me move quickly. I take note of your manufacturing sector. It is a struggling sector, but we have seen it starting to rebound. The government is going to put more resources in ensuring, and that is the essence of this public engagement. How then do we put more money in that space, including the technology, to give us better economic growth? Albert, you've talked about capitation. I can't agree more. Capitation, we have taken steps. Last week, we had a meeting in my office with the CS Education, his 3 PSS, my PS in charge of National Treasury, and myself, and our technical team. We have formed a team to look at the gaps. We are calculating the correct amount, the per capita, and multiplying with the total number of children we have in this country, so that we can see what is the funding gap and where can we get that money to fill that gap, so that we stop living this lie that has been lived over the years. And you know, when I spoke about it, some people started to zero it on this government. This thing has been on for years. That is why you hear principals complaining that the government owes them money dating back to 2020, 2019. Why do you think that is so? And the government is saying we have released the whole budget. It's because the amount allocated does not match with the number of students. And that is going to be done. I hope the media today will get it correctly. On chemis and NEMIS, yes, the ministry is doing something to make sure that we clean also the system. We are also educating children who are not there. That's what I hear. We must educate only the existing Kenyan children, not children who are the minds of principals and head teachers across the country. Gen Zs, I agree with you. I can invite you to my office, and no one can scare the Gen Zs. Gen Zs, this country belongs to you. It is your country. We need to dialogue. We need to engage. The only thing that I would also appeal to you, Gen Zs, let nobody also misuse you. Because you cannot create jobs in an environment where shops are being looted. You can't. You can't. We were with the president in London, and we signed agreements. You're aware European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is coming to Kenya in September to make Kenya regional headquarters. They are going to employ, in their management, 70% will be Kenyans. And they are going to employ other Kenyans. They are going to put up adverts next month. We have Bupa, which is the world leading health insurance company, coming here as a regional headquarters. We have Lloyd's of London coming here. But they will only come here if we show that our environment, we are civilized. Not where you find people walking across with pangas. Hata wewe utaenda nchi gani unaona in the street watu wanatembea na pangas. So we must also love our country. And we must picket and demonstrate in a civilized manner. So that is to Gen Zs. Gen Zs also should stop tribalism. That is one of the things you came out to fight, but now you are practicing it. And I'm speaking to Gen Zs across the country. You are now as tribal as us. And you were attacking us the other day that we have spoiled this country with tribalism. You are now more tribal. Can you explain why Sabasaba, only a few areas of the country, there were demonstrations? There was looting in areas that I've never seen people looting shops. Pure tribalism. Nothing can justify that. So you are as tribal as us. In fact, very soon we will stop. We will tell you you have lost moral authority to criticize us because you have become us. So remain you, non-tribal. Direct criticism correctly. Come to the streets with your phones, like you came with your phones. Not with the stones and pangas. Machetes. I have spoken to Gen Z because I also have them. Simio, commissions can only be removed through a referendum. That's what Kenyans decided. We created commissions in the Constitution, including National Police Service Commission. For you to remove that, very difficult. You have to take Kenyans to vote. Corruption, we can deal with. But let me tell you this. This corruption thing, for us to deal with it, we must all agree as a country that we must stop corruption. It is not something that you leave to Treasury or to the President or to who. All of us should start from the top like the President has started it, but all of us must agree. If I go, and I keep on giving this example, I went to Singapore. Immediately, I went for lunch. When I finished eating is when I realized I didn't have the local currency. So I wanted to get local currency. Then I asked the person who was serving me where I would get my money changed. He told me, here it can be changed, but there is a place where you can get better rates out there. So he showed me where I could get better rates. And he told me you can go there, and it was about like 200 meters away. So I was like, oh, okay. So I can go there and get better rates? Yes. Then I come back and pay? Yes. I thought someone was going to walk with me to that place where I was going to get the change. He left me to go. I looked back, I was just alone. Went, got my change, came back and paid. Now, two things that stood out for me. Number one, how many people in Nairobi will tell you don't exchange here because there is a better rate there? Secondly, how many people here in Nairobi would allow you to go with their bill, to go and get change, someone they don't even know, even those who know you, to allow you 200 meters away, my friend, to go and get change and pay? That must be someone who is your loyal and regular customer. But it happened out there. Why? Because they believe that people should not be corrupt. Here, you will say what you are saying, but you will believe the opposite. You will criticize the government, you will criticize parliament, you will criticize the executive, you will criticize the president, you will criticize the judiciary, but you, yourself, partake to the same. You even do worse. NGCDF to be managed by the ministry. This NGCDF is a controversial issue. I have my own opinion about it. The way I know NGCDF is structured, there is no role for members of parliament. You know, sometimes we institutionalize bad behavior. When CDF was first introduced, some MPs used to work with checks and sign. That ended. Now, some MPs still work with checks and handover. That is not provided for in the design of NGCDF. NGCDF is managed from the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. In fact, the PS is there. Dr. Makoa. That is the PS in charge of NGCDF, not Parliament. We have committees elected through that ministry, that State Department. And if you ask me, NGCDF has done a lot in this country. Even if we are changing the design or whatever, please, let's not do away with that funding. Those are my thoughts. It's not shared with Baba. Baba has his own thoughts on this one. It's one of those areas where we don't agree. Very few areas where I don't agree with him. Merging audit queries, I think that was more our advice. How can MDS secure critical funding? I think the lady from KBC, one of the areas I spoke about was PPP. Then we can also look at how to enhance your own source revenue. Actually, I think it is high time, and I'm speaking to accounting officers. Kindly, please, let us support government institutions. Let us support government institutions. Even in terms of research, even in terms of consultancy, we have our universities. They can offer consultancy. Why do we go to these private firms? I know they are also there but please also use our universities so that we can get funding to the university through own source generation of revenue. And we can support the broadcaster, our national broadcaster. On pension, I've been told that, is it last month? That we adjusted it by 3%. But that mzee, I think you people need to look for that mzee to give you, where is a person from pension department? Yeah, but Mwenda, please get that mzee. I want you to get the details of that mzee to tell you what is the challenge, because it is our duty to solve Kenya's problems. Maybe there is a genuine concern that he has. And recognizing retirees' inclusivity of old age. Actually, we have, in line with Article 21.3, Yogo, I'm addressing that mzee. In line with Article 21.3, we made an amendment to include the elderly among the team that are treated as the vulnerable, the persons with the disability, the youth, in this procurement. What do we call that team group? AGPO. Okay? So now the elderly are also part of the AGPO. I think many people don't know that. The elderly now are part of AGPO. Yes, we must address issues of unemployment. Barasa, how much was allocated for youth and women empowerment? I think you are referring to these events that I see across the country, where politicians go make donations, empowering youth, empowering women. I'm also seeing another group of young people also went to Trans Nzoia to do the same. They have not come to the National Treasury to request for a budget. So I don't know where they're getting the money from. And actually, part of the assignment I was given, there was no inclusion that I will be monitoring what every individual in Kenya spends. If they are spending their money, I have no business. But if they ask for money from the National Treasury, I will deal with it. Chances are I will reject that budgetary provision. Unless they tell me that this women and youth empowerment, which I know is important, is structured in this way, and this is the way to spend it. Then we can see if we can put a budget for it. And we empower our women. By the way, we had the Women Enterprise Fund for the same, Youth Enterprise Fund, WESO Fund for the same. If they want us to restructure those funds to conform to the new realities and empowerment, we will do that. But what they are doing out there, please, don't give me too much work. I have already too much. Now following Watandi, how he's spending his personal money, hiyo si kazi yangu. See, I've answered that. In a nutshell, I've said, I think the person who asked that was somewhere here. My friend who asked that. Where are you? Yeah. Oh, what I'm saying in a nutshell is that there is no budget for women and that women empowerment that you are seeing and youth empowerment. So that's it. Otherwise, I think I tried to cover all the questions that were asked. Thank you very much. Kuna ingine imebaki? Oh, you want to? Yeah, they have it in Bunge. So, wacha Tandi aseme.
Thank you very much, Waziri. I just wanted to say something on the question. Public participation law. I wanted to let you know that as Parliament we have suffered because of non-existence of this law. Remember that courts have annulled many of our legislations because according to courts we are not conforming to the public participation law. Yet that law does not exist. So I wanted to inform the person who has that question that Parliament is racing against time to enact Public Participation Act. I think the AG is going through the proposals, and very soon we are going to have the law in place. So that even for us, we need that law for us as Parliament, so that it can protect us from the litigious public that are fighting us on the laws that we make that, according to them, does not conform to the Public Participation Act. Also, I just want to say something on NGZDF. And I thank the Minister for that response. You know, Parliament is listening to Kenyans. Kenyans are talking about this NGZDF and we are listening. What we can say is that many Kenyans want the law to continue. A few of them, like the person who has a question, feel the law should not be in place. I think in the end, we are going to see which side has more weight. And if you talk to Kenyans at the grassroots, they will tell you that NGZDF is better than even devolution. So I think from where we sit as members of Parliament, I think we want to protect the law because many Kenyans want it, and we think it is serving Kenyans. It is a very good law, and the projects NGZDF is undertaking is all over. If you compare them with what counties are doing, we think the law needs to continue. Thank you.
I think almost all the questions have been answered. Of course, there is one on audit queries. Madam Auditor General is here, and we have taken note. Colleagues, you know, under the Zero Audit Fund, we have a duty to make sure we address all the audit queries. And so I want to assure whoever asked that this is a matter being addressed, and it's good you've raised it because audit queries are important and we need to address them so that we don't have recurrence. CS, I think we have come to the end of this morning session, and I have been requested that we either break and come back for the last session, or because we have a 10-minute slide, we listen to the slide presentation by DG, and then we can break off. We require your guidance. We take a break? We finish? Okay. So let's allow CS to go as well as the chair. Thank you. Okay, so I will ask the DG to come and make a presentation of the fiscal year 2026-27 and medium-term budget process. Karibu.
we won't keep you for long. If you can bear with us for like 5 minutes, we will conclude by just sharing with you the next steps with regard to the medium-term budget process. Okay. Quickly, what we wanted to share with you, just so that we are clear, is what then happens from here. We have had the sector hearings launched by the CS. So we are aware that a budget calendar has been issued by way of a circular issued by the CS that kickstarts the budget process. Of course, the MDAs are urged to adhere to the guidelines issued by the CS to ensure that we have effective implementation of the budget, and to ensure that we adhere to the timelines as set in the budget calendar. If we can move to, of course, we have the sector working groups as the key platforms for coordinating the specific sector policies, programs, and projects. The objectives of the sector working groups are first to coordinate and ensure that sector policies, programs, and projects are aligned with the national development goals. We also expect that the sector working groups will facilitate collaboration among the government agencies. It's important that we also carry along development partners, the private sector, and other stakeholders, and it has been emphasized by the CS that it is important that as we finalize the reports, we actually indicate what proposals were received from the various sectors and what recommendations the sector working groups will be making out of those proposals that are received. And the third and also important objective is to ensure that you achieve integrated planning and effective implementation of sector strategies. Now, if we can move to the next slide. Now, quickly, the point we want to make here is that the sector working groups as established are aligned to the COFOG. COFOG is a framework within which countries coordinate management of sector resources. And within Kenya, there are 10 sectors established for purposes of coordinating the engagements for budget preparation and for resource allocation. We have agriculture, rural and urban development, energy, infrastructure and ICT, general economic and commercial affairs, health, education, governance, justice, law and order, public administration and international relations, national security, social protection, culture and recreation sector, and finally environment protection, water, and natural resource sector. Now, there are key players in each sector. We have the chairperson for each sector. The chairperson leads the sector working groups and is selected by way of consensus amongst the accounting officers, and it is very clear which accounting officers fall in which sector based on the guidelines issued by Treasury. There will be a sector convener appointed by the National Treasury, and there will be a sector co-convener appointed by the State Department for Economic Planning. For each sector working group, there will be a technical working group that brings in the expertise in terms of the analytical bit of the programs to inform decisions within each sector working group. Then there is the sector working group secretariat that coordinates the meetings, as well as documentation and follow-ups. And then we have development partners representatives who are constituted by the group of development partners through their own coordination mechanism. And then we have the private sector representatives drawn from the private sector. In terms of responsibilities and terms of reference, of course, this is not new. There are a number of areas we would like the sector working groups to focus on. First is to ensure strategic alignment of the proposals with the various documents, the Vision 2030, the MTP4 that has been presented here, and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, so that whatever is being recommended, there is synchrony through those documents of government that sets out policies. We expect that there will be proper vetting of the projects that are being proposed to ensure that they are feasible. We also expect the sector working groups will conduct proper prioritization and to ensure resource allocations follow the prioritization. We emphasize, and given the policy direction that has been given, it is important to assess the projects and identify those that are commercially viable so that they can be presented for consideration under the PPP arrangement. This is important in terms of lifting weight off the exchequer so that these projects then can go that route, can be channeled that route. We see the sector working groups also helping with the building budget efficiency and ensuring proper rationalization to ensure that we remove the low priority projects and redirect the resources to the high priority areas. 7 is this is the group that will also carry out ensure that the funds the projects are funded based on justification, that every shilling that is allocated can be properly justified. And then finally, ensure that there are proper reports as we finalize, because that is what then goes to inform decision making in terms of resource allocation and ensuring that we are aligned. I think I will skip this. I think this, since there will be a budget circular with clear timelines, I will skip this just to emphasize that the budget that we are beginning to prepare now will have to be concluded and submitted to Parliament by 30th of April, and there are various milestones that we have to deliver. Next slide. It is important, at the risk of repeating myself, it is important that the sector working groups carry out a mapping of all the key actors in terms of carrying forward the implementation or the preparation of the budget. For example, it is important to know who your target beneficiaries are, even as you plan. It is important to know who the implementers are, so that you engage with them and seek their views. And it is important in each sector, there are those that carry a louder voice than others, who tend to influence. They will help you in terms of negotiating and ensuring that resource allocations are properly done. Maintain an open feedback loop so that whatever information comes in, there is a way of processing. It is very important, especially given the weight that has been placed on public participation as a way of driving and influencing the budget for 2026-27. Ensure that we, as much as possible, also align where there are projects that are already being supported, say by development partners. It is not necessary to duplicate, and that's why we emphasize collaboration with partners as you develop your proposals. The same with the private sector, and besides ensuring that you align, I think these are also channels that we can draw on in terms of innovation and new ideas, and also drawing on the experiences from those sectors, because there is also research that is conducted outside government that tends to be useful and can inform prioritization. And finally, transparent reporting. As I move towards concluding, what are the next immediate actions? Noting that our budget calendar tends to be very tight, it is important that we observe the timelines as guided in the circular issued by the Cabinet Secretary to the National Treasury. And therefore, there are a number of things that we would like to urge. During the transition, we expect there may be new chairpersons appointed for each sector. But to ensure smooth transition, we are urging that the current sector chairpersons remain in the chair until the next chairs are determined. That will help with a smooth flow of the budget process. Secondly, we urge that as soon as the new chairpersons are determined, please share with us, communicate to us for ease of communication and coordination with the chairperson and the other players. Third, please let's finalize as quickly as possible the constitution of the sector working group memberships where they need to change, and please keep us informed. In this regard, MDAs are urged to submit the technical working group nominations as immediately, preferably beginning after this session. The launch of the technical working group sessions with regard to technical reviews and costing should also happen as quickly as possible. The Treasury will disseminate templates for purposes of guiding and facilitating the work of the technical working group and the sector working group, and finalize and publish the stakeholder engagement plan with consultation schedules. Number 7, we urge that we set the sector working group meetings schedule for purposes of tracking the deliverables. And finally, MDAs are urged to submit budget baselines by 5th of September so that to unlock the other processes, including the conclusion of the budget review and outlook paper that should be concluded by 30th of September. And some of those initial, the initial feedback goes into providing input into the budget review and outlook paper, which then informs the specific sector ceilings for next year's budget. And then finally is to thank you all for your commitment, and we look forward to a transparent, efficient, and all-inclusive budget process, taking into account the information that has been shared here and the guidance and the further guidance that has been provided. That marks the end of that short presentation, but I'm reminded that there is tea served out here. There are 3 serving points. Please join us for that tea. Don't leave it. We have nowhere to take it, and it was meant for you. Please partake. So thank you very much, and do have a good afternoon.